This is an artist's impression of you. This is what you look like to me. This is your eye. There it is. Okay? Okay. That's a coffee cup. Okay. Now, here's what he is asking about. On the Thomistic idea, here's what happens. Light reflects from this coffee cup. And as the light reflects, Aquinas actually said the air, but never mind, he was wrong, it's the light. It carries the medium here, it carries the form of the cup. Now, what is this form of the cup? It is the configuration of the cup preserved in the medium. Now, what of the configuration of the cup does the medium preserve? Well, Aquinas thought what you get here are the accidental forms of the cup. Here are the accidental forms, the color, the shape, the orientation in space. Those are the accidental forms, and there are more. And all these are forms of the cup, accidental forms, and they're preserved in the medium. Now, he's entirely right. Aquinas is completely right. See, here's a cup. Light from this cup reflects, and it carries this information to the retina of your eye. Motion, orientation, color, shape, all those things are preserved by the light that carries the information to the eye. It comes to the eye, and in the eye, it's processed. It's sensible species. That's what happens. And then from there, this information comes to a thing Aquinas called the fantasia. And there it's processed some more into what Aquinas called phantasms. Now, there's a lot of controversy over what he actually was talking about. But if you look at his text and you think about what he was talking about, it's not that hard to get the point. Once information from this cup comes to your retina, you still don't see. You don't see. We need one more move for you to do anything like seeing, and that is for the visual information coming in to be made consciously accessible to you. And that's what we have happening up here. So you can get a person who has what we now call blind sight. A person who has blind sight has perfectly functioning eyes, but he's got a brain injury. And what comes into his brain is visual information about the environment. But the visual information is not processed up here, so it's not consciously accessible. You say to him, "What do you see?" And he says, "Nothing, I'm blind. I can't see anything." Ask him to walk down a hallway where there are many obstacles, and he walks right around all the obstacles and doesn't fall. The information's in the system, but it's not consciously available. So Aquinas is entirely right to think you need 2 batches of processing before you get anything like seeing. But here's the thing to notice: at this point, we still don't have anything like perception. What we ordinarily mean by perception requires one more round of processing. Here's why. We don't yet have the quiddity of the thing. We don't have, with regard to the cup, quid est, because all we got is the accidental forms. You can have a brain injury where a brain gets this far and then can't go any further, And then what we have is a visual agnosia. Oliver Sacks made this problem very famous in a book called The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat. And Oliver Sacks's famous case goes like this. The patient with visual agnosia is looking at a glove. And the doctor says to him about the glove, quid est? What is this? The patient says, well, it's a continuous surface with 5 outpouchings. Okay, now we have the accidental forms. The doctor says to him, yes, I know, but quid est? What is it? The patient says, what is it? What is it? No, continuous surface with 5 outpouchings. Coin purse. Purse for coins. He can't get the quid est, see? In order to get glove, which is what we want him to say, we need one more piece of functioning, and this, for Aquinas, is provided by the intellect. The intellect gets the quid est of the thing. Now, his question asked, how does that happen, given that what comes into the system is the accidents? Here's what Aquinas says. He says this is an agent intellect, and that is to say, an active intellect. And what active means is, here's the artist's impression of the intellect. What happens is, the intellect reaches over here, where we have all these accidental forms stored, and it gets the quiddity. That's what it does. It gets the quiddity, or the intelligible species. Now you might say, it can't do that. Because guess what? As the visual agnosic patient shows us, out of the accidental forms you could get any number of quiddities. So if all you've got in the system is the accidental forms, how are you ever going to get the quiddity? How are you going to do that? If you look for an answer in Aquinas, here's what you will find. That's why this is called agent, because it can do that. It can act with efficient causation on the phantasms and shape them. It isn't passive. It doesn't just receive it. It acts on it to get the quiddity. If you ask the contemporary neurobiologists who have precisely the same problem, this is what they will say. They will say that you can find this in Kandel and Schwartz, the most recent edition of their famous neurobiological textbook. They will say the incoming visual data constrain but do not determine what the brain processes, which means exactly what Aquinas said. The intellect does that somehow, and I don't know how. Nobody knows how. We would like to know how. Aquinas didn't know. Kandel and Schwartz don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. That the brain does this is clear because the visual agnosic patient has a broken brain which can't do that. It makes clear to you that your brain can do that. But how the brain does that, how we do that, nobody yet knows. And that's the answer to your question. I don't know is the answer.